Hey guys, I just got a camera a couple of weeks ago and just got around to mounting it on my bike, and I want to show you the setup. I bought this camera for an alternate view. I only paid $99 shipped off of Target.com. It's a Coutour camera. I actually had this deal listed on my website at cyclecruiser.com, and you might want to check out my website because every now and then I put some hot deals on there, and it'll be listed under the deal of the week. And again, that's cyclecruiser.com. Okay, the camera that I purchased was a Coutour, and what's really cool about this camera is it has a standard tripod socket, which allows you to mount this camera to any standard tripod, and it also has a swivel lens. As you can see, it has a degree listed there, and you can swivel this lens to level the video. And what I think is really cool about this camera is it has a leveling laser. If you press this button on the back, it actually emits a laser that goes across the wall, which allows you to swivel the lens so that the lens is perfectly level. And as you can see, I have it attached to a Pedco Ultra clamp here, which is a tripod that allows you to mount a camera at any angle. And this is really cool because, you know, this is better than carrying a tripod, because obviously it's very difficult to carry a tripod on a motorcycle. But this little sucker, you know, you can put in your backpack, and this will attach. I've attached this to tree limbs, signs, you know, a lot of the flyby videos you see, I've used this Pedco Ultra clamp, and I use it usually with my FZ35. Again, that's a Panasonic FZ35 camera, which I'm shooting with right now. But yeah, it's on there solid. It's attached to the exhaust bracket there, so this thing's not going anywhere. So I'll list the link in my description of this video if you guys want to pick one of those up. I paid $22.99 off of Amazon.com, and so this will be the very first time that I'm using this Coutour video camera. So we'll see what it looks like, and because I'm getting ready to go out and do a moto vlog. Today's 44 degrees, and it's clear. The roads are clear, so I'm gonna head out on the road, head out on some country roads. And but also, for those of you guys that don't know, I did a DIY video on how to make a GPS dock for the 2008 CBR600rr, and I'll list the link in that video as well. So hey, just giving you guys an update. So I'm headed out on the road. In conclusion, the video quality is actually pretty decent during daylight. However, in low light conditions, the GoPro Hero 2 is better. However, I'm only going to be using this Coutour camera to be mounted on various positions on my bike to get different angled shots. So I'll continue to use my GoPro Hero 2, which is mounted on the chin bar of my helmet for my moto vlogging, as well as some other shots and night shots as well. However, there are a lot of pros to this camera. First off, it's cheap. I only paid $99 shipped at Target.com. It had been $199. This camera does have a tripod socket, unlike the GoPro Hero 2, which this allows me to mount this camera to my Pedco Ultra clamp as well as a standard tripod. And this camera has an adjustable lens and leveling laser, which I demonstrated earlier in this video. That allows me to mount this camera in various positions and still get a completely upright shot. The camera is waterproof. You don't need an external housing like the GoPro Hero 2. This camera is extremely easy to use. You only need to flip the switch to turn on recording and flip the switch to turn it off. So that's huge. Unlike the GoPro Hero 2, which you have to toggle through the menu for the different settings and or listen for the beeps when you want to turn on recording or turn off recording or turn the camera off. So for the application that I'm using this camera for, it's absolutely perfect. As far as cons, there's only 30 frames per second with this camera, unlike the GoPro Hero 2, which has 60 frames per second at 720p. However, this camera does have 1080p like the GoPro Hero 2, but it's only in 30 frames per second for all resolution levels. But the GoPro Hero 2 only has 30 frames per second at 1080. But like I said, for 720, it's 60 frames per second, which is a huge benefit. But for the application I'm using this camera, that's fine. I only need 30 frames per second, so it's not a big deal. Again, the low light performance is not as good as the GoPro Hero 2, but like I said, I probably won't be using this camera at night anyhow. I'll be using my GoPro Hero 2, so that's not a big deal for me. It has no external audio jack like the GoPro Hero 2. So for those of you that want to use it for motovlogging, you're probably going to have to jimmy rig an audio jack on it. I know some people have been successful in doing this, so you might want to do a search on Google to see how to do that. But I don't need it personally for me, so it's not necessary. The audio is a little weak on this camera. You do have to go in the settings and turn up the sensitivity on this camera, and it's still a little weak, but it's okay, and it's nothing that you can't fix in editing. Now, in order to adjust the settings on this camera, you have to connect it to a computer. So that can be a pro and con for some people. For me, it's a pro because for the application I'm using for, I want to be able to just flip the switch on, flip the switch off. I don't really need to get in there and mess with the settings. I can do that before I ride, so it's not a big deal. But for those of you that like to change the settings on the fly, it's not happening unless you have a laptop with you where you can connect this camera. So, but that's really all I have to say about this camera. If you guys have any further input, please drop a comment or have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. That's all I have today. So until next time.
Catch you guys later.